Get ready to dive into the mind of a criminal who felt she did absolutely nothing wrong in May December, a Netflix original directed by Todd Haynes, who's done films such as Carol, Dark Waters, Velvet Goldmine, I'm Not There, and Far From Heaven. Which is exactly where Mary Kay Letourneau is. She is so far from heaven, she can't even see the clouds. She can't even see the very little bits where the rain will come down and rain on her in hell where she fucking belongs. Yeah, it's based on the Mary Kay Letourneau story, and this stars Natalie Portman, Julianne Moore, Charlie Melton, and others. And honestly, has a pretty stacked cast, a pretty good cast. Even the young people do a pretty good job with the respective characters they are given. This is also written by Sammy Birch and Alex Mechanic, who have done various film projects. You can check out their respective IMDb pages to see what else they've worked on. And yes, Natalie Portman plays Elizabeth, an actress who is trying to dive into the mind of Gracie, played by Julianne Moore. Yeah, it's based on the Mary Kay Letourneau stuff. If you were unfamiliar with the Mary Kay Letourneau case, I'm familiar with it because it happened in my state. And yeah, I remember all that bullshit. And let me just say right now, no matter what gender, no matter what spin you try to put on it, it was a fucking crime, and she deserved every bit of bad karma and bad shit that she got in her life. She preyed upon a young man who really had no way to make those, proper decisions at his age. His brain wasn't fully developed. It'd be the same if it was a male teacher and a young girl, like in The Starling Girl. Remember that stuff? That movie was pretty goddamn good. In fact, it's just two sides almost of the same coin. Yeah, the Mary Kay Letourneau stuff pissed me the fuck off, and the fact that people romanticize this goddamn thing is bullshit. Most people didn't, but there were a few that were like, oh, whatever, love is love. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it fucking works at all. So Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore are fucking fantastic in this, as you would expect. And it tells the story of Elizabeth diving into this role, studying, Gracie's behaviors, asking, questions, and talking to various family members, former lovers, and, neighbors and stuff like that, and the children from her previous marriage and her current marriage to Joe Yu, played by Charles Melton, who I do have to say actually is pretty goddamn good. He actually does a really good job with the conflicting emotions of a man who was preyed upon when he was a young boy, and now even as a somewhat older gentleman that had children with this older woman that again preyed upon him, and now the kids are growing up to college. Let's just say as things, get a little more heated between Elizabeth and, various others involved. Yeah, Joe kind of questions what the hell's going on in his damn life, and he's so confused. He's so confused about all these emotions because, again, he was preyed upon. This is shot in 23 days and has been getting a lot of rave reviews. Some issues, some say it's too much of a slow burn. Some say it really doesn't go anywhere. Some say it's all style, no substance. Some people say it tries to romanticize also / create sympathy for Gracie, aka Mary Kay Letourneau. That I didn't see it that way necessarily. I thought they were going to go that route. But Julianne Moore plays this role perfectly. Then again, Julianne Moore pretty much is the perfect actress. She is just great. She's been great for years. Still incredibly gorgeous. God, would I love to meet her. Natalie Portman, also tremendous. Has been great for years and years. Since The Professional, when she was a little child and growing up and being in the Star Wars prequels, that at least set her off to do better things like Black Swan, as divisive as that movie was. So there are great performances in this. I did like the usage of mirrors, especially for one particular part in a dress shop. I thought that was great, where it was Julianne Moore. Well, as far as like how you guys will see it, you have Natalie Portman, you have Julianne Moore, and you have Julianne Moore's reflection over here, and it's like she's mirroring her, listening to her and watching her and understanding her actions. And I thought that was a great shot. I'm not going to say this movie is as perfect as other people have said, and of course your mileage may vary. This has tremendous performances and is well filmed. I think there are a few times where maybe the story is a little bit it doesn't fully gel. I think there are moments where it drags a little bit. The subject matter is uncomfortable, so obviously if stuff like this does bother you, if you've been a victim of this stuff, and then I truly feel for you, and help is out there as far as therapy and stuff like that. There's no way for anybody to fully deal with that, and that's how Charles does a really good job, as Joe. And the kids, it's nice to have various, or varied kids. Some are in college, some are graduating from high school and going to go off to college. And it's at a crossroads, so you won't be lonely. See you at the crossroads, so you won't be lonely. And then there's stuff about, caterpillars growing into beautiful butterflies, growing up. Nice symbolic stuff there. It was filmed in Savannah, Georgia, apparently. And it was a nice, well-told story. If not perfect, it certainly is one of the better Netflix originals of this year. It just misses the mark of being really, really, spectacular. But there are some great moments in it, and I certainly recommend you guys check this out. I see the criticisms that some people have said. They feel this is too much of a slow burner, or it's disappointing. The story isn't quite as meaty as they would have hoped, but it relies on the performances, and Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore help carry and elevate this thing a lot higher than it would have been had you not had these two involved. And Todd Haynes has directed good projects in the past. Shows that he is quite a good director. By no means a director that everybody is going to love the work of, as far as every single one of his films. Some people may just get really, really frustrated with how, sometimes things are left a little bit open. I mean, check out some of his other projects. Bit divisive, but certainly a very talented director, and this is another, maybe not a knockout of the park, but certainly one that was quite a hit. So, let me know what you guys had to say. I'm going to get into spoilers here in a little bit. It's on Netflix. Again, great performance by Natalie Portman, Julianne Moore, Charles Melton, and even the kids. Even the kids do a good job, and then you have the ex and stuff like that. Very good performances all around. Uncomfortable at times, but worth watching for sure. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. All right, there really isn't much to spoil. Julianne Moore, Jesus, I don't care. I don't care that she's in her early 60s. She looks fucking great. Natalie Portman looks fucking great. The piano music was certainly interesting. This is also kind of a comedy drama, a dramedy as it were, or a comma that doesn't really necessarily work. And everybody's aware of what she did. And there are people that try to look past that because they try to see the good of the person inside. I want to say again, she slept with a fucking student and preyed upon him. I'm just saying. The Mary Kay Letourneau stuff, the connotations, there's no way to defend that. I don't care if she's unhappy in her goddamn marriage. If somebody's of legal age and out of school, whatever, but just, god damn it, that is a fucking student, that was a fucking young man, somebody that could not make those decisions. The cheesecloth look, as far as like a dream sequence or factual, based on interpretation, whatever, I kind of like that stuff. It does have a good streak of dark humor. How they met, well, Gracie basically met him as a 7th grader. She was, it's a pet shop thing and all that, and this pet shop owner talks about that. There's a boy from the previous marriage, Georgie. Hiya, Georgie. Such a nice family. You want to have a split up? And Elizabeth has issues, maybe diving into more of this stuff about Gracie. There's also an implication Elizabeth may be sleeping with the director, who happens to be of Italian descent, apparently, while his wife is away on business. She has her own health issues as well, as far as asthma and needing a, breathing apparatus. And I've had asthma in the past, still have. As you can tell sometimes from certain reviews, sometimes I have some breathing issues, as it were, so I have to manage that shit. I did like how, as things start to go, Joe and Elizabeth have a bit of a connection, as far as Elizabeth really diving into this role. Gracie worries that she's losing him. Again, you preyed on the fucker and you manipulate him. Eventually, he's going to unwind that stuff, maybe. Now, he feels that he is happy, and he's worried that he's going to lose his kids also. Elizabeth stays on longer while all this stuff is going on. I did like where she was talking in the school about, describing and deconstructing sex scenes and talking about getting into it, not being into it, and choosing roles. Sometimes you want to choose difficult roles because it can be more attention, all this. So it's nice deconstruction of the human spirit and how people would get into roles. And I imagine Natalie Portman's played some complex roles in her past. Again, the aforementioned The Professional, back when she was a kid, showing her acting chops even back then. I'm surprised that the director, Luc Besson, didn't try to date her at that point, because we know how Luc Besson is. Anyway, Luc Besson had nothing to do with this movie, thankfully, because he probably would have fapped himself given the amount of material that was so similar to his actual life. Read up when he met the opera singer woman in The Fifth Element. She was a girl, because why not? So all the kids are going off to college. All this stuff's going good. Elizabeth and Julianne Moore have some nice close moments at some point. You know, makeup tips, baking, because Gracie is a baker. And Gracie has 4 brothers, 2 younger, 2 older. Georgie implies that the brothers abused her, which may or may not have actually happened. I mean, that's up to interpretation. And he says, for this information, make me the music supervisor, because he does music at a bar and everything, because his life has been turned all upside down because of what Gracie did. You know, breaking up the family and all that. And then Elizabeth really dives in the role by getting with Joe very quickly, where he finishes very, very quickly. To be fair, when you're with Natalie Portman, finishing quickly would almost have to happen. And yeah, was that for the role? Was that just because there was a sudden connection? What in the world was that? Joe is confused. He's like, are we really, to Gracie, are we really as much in love as we think? And I believe, if I remember right, they actually did separate sometime before she passed away. But, the student whose name escapes me at the moment, and Mary Kay, Elizabeth is all upset because she's just diving more and more into this role. The emotions are getting to her, but she's really sinking her teeth into this stuff. And then Gracie, who has talked about how she likes to hunt, takes the dogs out. There's a fox. What does the fox say? Nothing, because a fox can't talk. And they have the graduation. And she says, insecure people are very dangerous, aren't they? Well, I'm secure. See, that's the thing. Julianne Moore plays it perfectly. Gracie feels she did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. And that's actually the very sad and actually terrifying thing about the whole thing. She feels that she did nothing wrong, despite the fact she preyed on a guy that, seduced her. No. Anyway, then there's a movie scene being filmed with Elizabeth getting more and more into the role, and then it cuts to black, and that's it. So yeah, that is May, December. The studying of the mind of a criminal to get the role of a lifetime. B+. I give it a B+. I give it high marks for the good stuff. Even if I thought that there were moments that kind of dragged a little bit, still B+. Pretty good Netflix original overall. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin, and Mary Kay Letourneau can rot in hell for all I care. See you soon.